Hello everyone, this is John from RPGs and More, and this is my cat. Say hello, cat. Thank you. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you today about two ideas that I've had for the Prince Valiant storytelling game, and these are ideas for house rules. And one of the best pieces of advice that have ever been given, which I am terrible at following, but is still a very good idea nonetheless, is don't put house rules on a system until you've played it a lot. Well, I haven't played Prince Valiant storytelling game a lot because there's not a lot of people out there to play with, and I don't really like playing online anymore. But one of the things that I have done is gotten lots of experience over the years playing many different systems and generally have an idea of what concepts should work. I'm not saying it will work. I'm saying should. All right. So the word choice here is very deliberate. But what I wanted to talk to you is two house rule ideas that add elements to the Prince Valiant storytelling game that aren't currently there. So the first one is random character generation. And one of the things that people like about, some people like about Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games like it, is rolling up their ability scores and seeing what they get, right? It's fun to roll the dice, see what you have, and then either make do with that or beg the DM to let you re-roll it. Whatever the case may be, in order to make yourself happy, right? But with the Prince Valiant storytelling game, it's one of those games. My cat is currently playing with something on my desk over there, probably some Warhammer miniatures. One of the things that people do, the Prince Valiant storytelling game is based off of essentially a point-buy system. You get 7 points to assign to the 2 attributes, and you have to spend them all, and you have to have at least 1 in each attribute. And that's all well and good. You get to pick what kind of character do you like to make, and you can end up with something that's, average but slightly stronger, and have 4 in one and 3 in the other. So 4 brawn, 3 passion makes for a knight or hero who is slightly stronger than the average, but, still averagely gifted as far as acumen and passion goes. Or you can do the opposite and have someone who's better at oratory and influencing others and intimidating people, but is, only average at the art of hitting things. And otherwise have fun with it. So there's nothing wrong with that system in and of itself. But what if you're like me and you like rolling 3d6 down the line? Numbers are assigned as you roll. That's what down the line means. And that's it. And you have to make whatever you roll up and have at it. Now, I like that because it sometimes has encouraged me to make characters or play characters that I normally wouldn't. It has increased my creativity and broadened my horizons and spectrums a little bit more. So I enjoy that way of rolling up a character. None of the characters are super powered. They're all going to be pretty regular people. But how can we bring that sense of discovery, the sense of the unknown, of the unpredictability, into the Prince Valiant system? Well, after poring over it for all of, probably about 20 minutes, I came up with a solution. Let's test the tea and see if the tea is going to work. Excellent chamomile tea. Perfect for a late evening. The solution is a 6-sided die. So this is what you do, is you get your character sheet, right? You put on brawn and presence. Leave that open. Take your 6-sided die and you roll it. And whatever result you get on that die, you assign to your brawn, 1 through 6. And whatever number of points you have that are left over, that's your presence. There you go. Random ability generation that doesn't break the rules of the Prince Valiant system, and but still allows you to have something that maybe you didn't predict, and you can have a little fun with it. You may end up with 6 points in brawn and 1 point in presence, or the opposite. You end up with 4 and 3. You'll end up with 2 and 5. It's okay because it's all within the parameters of the system already. Nothing's going to get broken. All right. And that's the important part. That's why I'm comfortable with this house rule, because it doesn't break the already established rules. It just randomizes the selection a little bit. And that works. Now, let's say you were like, well, I want to have a little more power, a little more choice. I want to have random, but at the same time, I don't really want to have it too random. Like, okay, well, here's your solution. Roll 2 6-sided dice for your brawn, and then pick the one you want, whether it's the higher one or the lower one, depending on what character you're desiring to create. And then all the other points available from your 7 go into your presence. The other way you can break this up is decide that you're going to roll for your presence and let whatever numbers fall as they may for your brawn. It doesn't really change much, but it changes your emphasis. And maybe that is all it will take for you. So those are 2 methods for that. And I think that that is a good method to try. And I'm going to be trying it myself when I generate some NPCs in a later video. But we're not there yet. So what's the second one? Well, the second one is something that I kind of alluded to in a previous video, I think. Although it could have been the one that I recorded that I never actually released because it actually was kind of a bad video. I was really, really tired, and I yawned, and I stuttered way too much and had no real... It was even more meandering than usual because I'd been awake for almost 24 hours. So you guys I'm not going to make you suffer through that. Anyway, the other idea I had is equipment lists. So the Prince Valiant storytelling game, as it stands, does not have an official equipment list, especially not one that has prices attached to it, right? It is very basic. It's basically you start out with the equipment that is assigned to you according to the profession that you have chosen, and that's it. So you might say, John, well, how do I add one to it without diving into medieval texts and doing a lot of research in the Doomsday Book? Well, first off, actually doing a bunch of research in the Doomsday Book sounds like a lot of fun to me, at least for a while, but I'm weird like that. However, you don't have to do that. In fact, I would recommend most people don't do that unless you are really super interested in it, simply because, oh my gosh, the headaches. Not to mention the trouble of trying to get your hands on a copy of an internet version of the Doomsday Book. In fact, actually, if anyone knows where you can get like a PDF of the text of the Doomsday Book somewhere, that would be amazing. Send a link down below. I'd be amused. I haven't found one yet, but I haven't really looked that hard, so maybe it's in England somewhere. Anyway, not the point. So the point is that you can take pretty much any equipment list that you like from a game that you already play or already own, and simply superimpose that equipment list over the Prince Valiant setting. The only requirement is that, well, not a requirement, but the recommendation is that it's a equipment list that uses gold pieces and silver pieces and copper pieces, because that's the currency that is talked about in the Prince Valiant storytelling game. So I've got 2 ideas for that. The first one is easy, and that is Swords and Wizardry White Box by Matt Finch and Marv Brig. Marv Brig. That's the phonetic way to spell it, or the phonics way to spell it, I believe. So, hey, if I'm wrong, I apologize. Please correct me, and I will take the correction gracefully, I think. Anyway, so the point is that this set of rules released by Mythmere Games, and I like it. It's fun. I have several different versions of it because I super enjoyed the one that was released previously to this one that has I don't have a copy of it handy. It's back on the bookshelf somewhere, and that would take too long to run and grab because this video is already going to be long, so I'm not going to do that. But anyway, this is the current version, and it's a lot of fun, and it's got all the stuff that the previous version had, plus maybe a little bit extra, reorganized and presented in a nice, fun way. But what it has that is interesting to us in this moment is a very simple but straightforward equipment list. Everything is listed in gold piece value, but it still uses gold, silver, and copper. So the issue, there's no issue. The only thing you'd have to do for this is you're only looking at the item and the price. The item and the price is it. Everything, like all the, the weight of the item or how much damage it deals and all that, that doesn't matter. You're not paying attention to that one, so ignore it. You just want the item itself and the price because you're going to use the Prince Valiant system, which is basically if it's a normal weapon, it gets a plus one to the combat pools. If it's magical, it gets +2. And if it's like super special secret squirrel, it gets +3. And that's all you're worried about for that. And then for armor, is it light armor, medium armor, or heavy armor? And you, as the DM, get to decide that. And then you pay those points, and then it either adds a +1, +2, or +3 respectively. Keep in mind that a shield alone is still counted as light armor. So your character can pick up like a shield and a helmet and just be wearing a cloth, and their cloth as in clothes, and they're light armored. Or they can be a shield, helmet, and gambeson, light armor. It's when you add the chainmail shirt on top of it that it starts turning into medium armor, and maybe you're now wearing a steel helmet with a little bit of a nasal. That's medium armor. And then we look at heavy armor, and that's like the full hobogen, plus like chain tassets and chain and full sleeve chainmail tunic and shield. Maybe a nice Norman kite shield, or a big Nordic round shield. Plus a full face covering helm, whether that is I think it's called Spangle helm. I could be wrong. Sorry, the spelling is weird and my brain is funny. But it's the Viking helmet that we've seen in the Sutton Hoo burial, where you've got the full face plate plus, ear protection. And I think there was even something about an Aventail type stuff in the back, but it was still a very Viking helmet. You can go with one of those for level 3 or heavy armor, or you can go with the King Arthur route of having a great helm, or what we would call a great helm, which is kind of the full head, sits on you, which is also like a Sugarloaf helm would probably be another example of a great helm that would be used during that time. And this is still early to mid. I want to say 1100, 1200, 1300s era armor, okay? Because that's kind of where Prince Valiant sits at, is that sweet spot within those 3 centuries. And you can have a lot of fun with it. It's really earlier than that for the most part, but they take inspiration from multiple places because Hal Foster was awesome like that. And he had a extremely wide breadth of knowledge as far as equipment, and actually did a great job of depicting clothing, at least European style clothing, as a very varied and colorful set of clothing pieces. So, all right, moving on. So you got the rest of the equipment also. I would take that as well and use that as a guide and use that as an equipment list you can use in your games. You just have to decide as the storyteller if an item is going to grant a coin bonus to a toss, and if so, what tosses, and have that information ready to hand so that your players can understand what they are buying and what they're not buying, so they don't spend a whole lot of money on something that for a bonus that they're not going to get. You don't want to do gotcha with them, all right? Gotcha! Ha ha ha! Oh, you spent all your money on this thing and it does nothing mechanically. Like, you don't do that to them. Tell them ahead of time, hey, this is a really expensive item, but really it's just a cart. and a horse, and you're going to be able to move your stuff around, but you're not going to get any like mechanical benefit from it for your character themselves. And make sure they know that ahead of time. It's a courtesy thing, especially when teaching a new game system. You don't want anyone to feel like they were had. All right, so that's one. Another option would be grabbing the 5th edition Player's Handbook and using the item lists from there. Same process. A little slightly more involved in the sense that it's a bigger book and there's more information to glean, but whatever floats your boat. Also, the white box cyclopedia that's going to be coming out this March is the expected release of the product after the Kickstarter ends in a few days. So that would be in the future. If you are a future person watching this video, go and grab that if you can, because I think it's going to be awesome. And that's what I'm going to be probably using for a little bit too, just because I'm going to like it. But there's any game system really that has equipment lists. I mean, GURPS, you can get GURPS books that have very detailed equipment lists and use that. You can get Legendary Adventures by Gary Gygax. Grab that one, and that's got a very detailed equipment list. That's a lot of weird stuff in it. Have fun with it. You can do previous editions of D&D, whatever you have to hand. I mean, heck, probably... I mean, yeah, Shadow Dark would work. Savage Worlds, that's the word I was looking for. Savage Worlds would work. Any of these game systems would work as long as they're codified with some sort of list and money to pay for it, right? That's all you're looking for. So you don't have to invent something out of whole cloth in order to add this house rule. You can if you want to, and I won't tell you not to, but I'm telling you, you don't have to. All right, so those are the two house ruling bits that I've come up with so far that I think add not necessarily conveniences, although in the case of an equipment list, it is slightly more convenient because you're doing a lot less guesswork or inventing things yourself. But with, they add something that isn't already there. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope that everyone enjoyed it. Thank you for sticking around. If you like this video, please, give me a like. And if you want to see more stuff about this kooky, system that is been out of print for so long, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be talking more about it. I will be going into other game systems in the future too. I'm not going to just stick with this one, but I've kind of been on a bit of a trip with this system for a while, and I'm enjoying it. So you are still going to see a lot of Prince Valiant stuff for a while until my prediction, and this can always be wrong because life gets like that, but my prediction is that when the white box cyclopedia lands, and I have that in my possession, that I will start doing a lot of material for that, for that game system. So that's my prediction. We'll see how the world actually goes. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. I hope you all have a marvelous day, and peace be with you. Bye-bye.